And we're live. Hello, welcome to the Film Radar podcast. So first episode, probably going to be some hiccups along the way. I haven't tried streaming officially in a little while, so hopefully the internet works fluidly this whole time. Can't make any promises, but welcome to the first episode. We're going to be discussing Death Proof, which is, for those who are unfamiliar, a Quentin Tarantino film that was released originally, I think it was 2007. Probably should have looked this up. But it was originally released as a double feature alongside Planet Terror, which is a Robert Rodriguez film. And their whole idea was they wanted to kind of make something fun that was just like a throwback to old grindhouse cinema from the 1970s. And so they, in thinking with that B movie setup, they both kind of wanted to make their own version of a B movie. And so this was Tarantino's interpretation. He made, which is what is essentially a slasher flick that is also a car movie. And it's just soaked in 70s inspired music and the cinematography. And he even puts in a lot of fun little bad edits to kind of simulate the effect of a distorted film print. And there's a lot of digital added dust and grain and scratches and everything like that. But I think it's a really good movie. I think this was a great pick to start off the podcast with. It was voted on by a couple people on the YouTube poll. In the future, there's going to be a poll on both Twitter and YouTube as this kind of rolls out a little bit more. And that way we can all collectively decide. Right now, it's looking very likely that the next film is going to be David Lynch's Lost Highway. That was also voted on the YouTube poll. So that's also something I haven't seen yet. So that's kind of a part of why I wanted to put the podcast together in the first place, was just to challenge myself to see more stuff. And Death Proof I've already seen, so I'm happy to discuss it, but I'm definitely looking forward to checking out some things I haven't seen before. But so anybody in chat, feel free to say hello. Hello, Johnny. I see you there. Which, by the way, I need to make you a mod. I don't know how, but I can figure that out at some point. I don't know that I need a mod just yet. But is that better framing? Maybe. We're gonna work out some kinks as we go. That's how it is. Hey Juice, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. I don't know if you have ever seen Death Proof. It's a really good movie, and that's what we're here to talk about. So you're Gen Z. Are you? No. You're a millennial, I'm pretty sure, right? Right? Okay. Yeah, so I feel like I should probably get started pretty soon, but I'm probably gonna just give it another couple of minutes. Yeah, that's definitely fair. It's also one that kind of went under the radar. It was a box office failure when it came out. No one really saw it, and to this day, it still has easily the worst reputation of any of Tarantino's movies, which is another reason I was excited to have this be, a focal point of one of the podcasts, because I made a video on it a while ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And basically the video, for those who haven't seen it, is just kind of running through how I think he's paying tribute to exploitation cinema. And there's a little bit of, history and context for exploitation cinema, because I think it has a really fascinating history that a lot of people don't know about. I actually considered making an entire video surrounding that idea, covering just B movies in general, because they've kind of become mainstream in the last few decades. I mean, I guess kind of starting with Star Wars and Jaws and Indiana Jones. These big blockbusters from the 70s were all inspired by exploitation cinema. And so what I love about Death Proof is, you know, if you look at any films, uh, okay, so exploitation cinema is basically, I don't know why it's necessarily called exploitation, but it's usually just stuff that's like very lurid. There's usually a lot of violence, a lot of sex. It was just the kind of thing that you know, they would play for these late night audiences uh, that first started really showing up in the 60s and 70s. There were a lot of just these like low budget sci-fi movies, like the Roger Corman films, stuff like that. And so there are a million different subgenres of exploitation, like blaxploitation, which Tarantino pays tribute to in Jackie Brown. Most notably, like other Pam Grier films like Coffee, or Foxy Brown, which is why, because the original character's name is Jackie Burke, but he had it changed to pay homage to Pam Grier. But there's just a lot of history there, and it you can find its influence in pretty much every single one of Tarantino's movies. Most notably, for sure, like Jackie Brown, Death Proof, Kill Bill, obviously. But you know, you get the sense watching any Quentin Tarantino movie that he is a big fan of cinema, and you know, everything he's doing, he's borrowing from somewhere for the most part. Like certainly stylistically, a lot of the music, if you caught my last video, he's pulling directly from other films, and that's just kind of the way he operates. But I think it's more strongly present in Death Proof than just about any of his other movies. Like you just really feel the love that he had when he went to make this movie, and it's something that I would love to see tried again. I don't think it's inherently a bad idea, but just the idea of doing like a double feature of original movies that are released together, I think is a really fun idea that we haven't seen since then, probably because it didn't succeed very much. But I would love to see some other filmmakers try that down the line, especially now that we have this like horror renaissance happening. I would just absolutely love to see more like just combination films, like filmmakers working together separately on their own original ideas, but like putting them together under one package. But so I never caught the films when they were in theaters. At the time, I wasn't like a huge Tarantino fan. I had seen Pulp Fiction, like most people in high school. It's like, you know, you haven't seen Pulp Fiction? Oh my God. So after that, though, it took me a long time to kind of work my way through the rest of his filmography. And originally, I didn't care for Death Proof. I felt just about the same that everybody else did. I thought the first half was pretty good. I thought the second half was like really lackluster. Just felt like I was watching two completely different movies, and I just didn't think it was up to par with, you know, what I had seen in Pulp Fiction and then later in all of his other movies. And I don't even know exactly what changed or why it changed, but like a few years ago, probably a year or two before I ended up making the video, Death Proof, Tarantino's Love Letter to a Bygone Era, I think is the title. Before making that video, there was just this time, I don't know, I just felt like revisiting it, and I went into it just completely low expectations. You know, it was mostly just to jog my memory about the movie, and I fell in love with it. I just thought it was a masterpiece, and I didn't understand why no one else seemed to agree. And even if you watch interviews these days with Tarantino talking about it, he is pretty candid about, you know, that movie not succeeding. And I can't help but wonder if that's not just a response to like the criticism. It seems very likely that that is exactly what it is, but it's impossible to say. But I see we have a couple new viewers. Hello, welcome to the podcast. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. I'm hoping to make this a discussion right now. My friends are in chat and neither have seen Death Proof. So hopefully we can get a couple people like going in chat so it is more of a discussion. because I definitely have a lot that I can say about it, but you know, it would be nice to hear some other opinions about the movie, because it does definitely divide people in his fan base. I mean, Tarantino has a ton of fans all over the world, and asking people, you know, how they would rank the Tarantino films definitely changes from person to person. But I feel like very seldom do you ever run into people that put Death Proof like even remotely near the top. Most people consider it his worst, or like very nearly his worst. And I mean, I don't know. I guess it's tough to even try and think about someone's career like that when all of their movies are really good. Like the weakest Tarantino film is still better than what most people could ever make in their wildest dreams. And so it's always tough, and especially because they're so particular and they all feel like Tarantino, but there are different flavors of Tarantino. Like there's the Kill Bill audience who just, to them, that is pinnacle peak Tarantino. And, you know, that it's his most like individual film. Obviously it's a two-parter, but that's definitely something that you can't get in the other Tarantino movies. But I feel like I've asked around with my friends, I've like participated in online discussions, and the general consensus seems to be that Death Proof just kind of sucks. And I would like to set the record straight, or help to set the record straight, that it's actually a really, 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 really good movie. And so, spoilers. We're going to get into spoilers. So that's just going to happen. For those who are unfamiliar with like the plot of the movie, basically it follows a character by the name of Stuntman Mike, who is kind of retired. I mean, he just doesn't really get work the way that he used to, because the film is set in present day in, you know, 2006 or whenever it came out, and work is drying up because these days, more often than not, when there are dangerous stunts that are called for in a film, they turn to CGI. And, you know, it makes sense. It's cheaper. You don't have to put anyone's life at risk. You can make minute little changes very easily. Like maybe you wanted the car to roll one more time, or you name it. You have complete freedom of control over that sort of thing. Whereas if you're doing it for real, you never know what's going to happen. Someone might get hurt. It happens all the time. In fact, there was a car stunt in Kill Bill that Uma Thurman was injured performing, and apparently made their relationship pretty rocky for a while there. But so this stuntman Mike character is just, he's kind of a remnant, a relic, you know, of the past, and he longs for the old glory days, you know, when they used to do these big crazy car stunts, and they used to do it for real. And so now he's just kind of roaming the world looking for his next victim. He is a serial killer who takes the lives of, I mean, in the movie, I don't think it ever suggests he goes for anything other than young women. And the way he kills them is he kills them with his car, because Tarantino was talking about this. I watched like a lot of behind the scenes stuff about the movie, and I can't remember which movie he was shooting, or he was visiting a set or something like that, and he had a conversation with the stunt team about how they do, you know, these big crazy stunts, and how they end up walking out of these car wrecks that, you know, like when you see them on screen, it's like they're incredible and visceral, and no one should be able to just walk out of that. And so they mentioned the concept of, you know, well, you better make sure that the car is death proof, because if you build it the right way, if it's not, you know, like a factory made car, if it's built specifically to go through this sort of pressure and this sort of intensity, you can reinforce it in ways that the car will be damaged, but the person inside will be more or less okay. And so he uses his death proof car to pick up women and then crash into other women. And so there's like a very clear split halfway through the movie. Excuse me. Basically, he is stalking this group of women, one of whom is this local, very successful talk show host, and it follows her and her friends as they're just like going out. They're going to have a fun night before going to a friend's cabin for the weekend, and Mike follows them around, hangs out in the bar that they're hanging out at, and after they all kind of get up to leave, he finds them on the road and just crashes right into them, killing all of them pretty much instantly. And then there's like a little intermission where he's in the hospital, and the cop is like pretty sure that it wasn't an accident, but he can't prove it. And then the film just completely takes a 180, and we have a whole set of new characters, including like a stunt driver, an actress or a model, and then just her friends. I don't know if they make any particular mention of what they do. Welcome to the chat, Default 98. Pleasure to have you. And I would have to probably agree. Like it's a close tie, or a close, maybe not tie, but it's always back and forth between Inglourious Bastards and Death Proof for me. I love Death Proof. So pleasure to have you in the chat, in the conversation. Feel free to contribute any of your own thoughts on the film, and or any of other like Tarantino's. It's going to be like a loose form, more of a hangout than some sort of, you know, professional like structured thing. We're just gonna chat about the movie because I like movies, and hopefully all of you here like movies as well. Oh, thank you for saying so. I really appreciate that. I figure most people who are going to be stumbling in here are familiar with the YouTube channel. I don't know how anyone else would find me, but yes, chilling with the boys and girls and anyone who wants to join in. But so just we're kind of like doing a little brief that's not staying super brief recap of the film. But so yeah, halfway point, totally new cast of characters, totally new situation, and they're basically being set up to be Mike's next kill. And this time the tables get turned because, you know, they've got like a stunt driver and a stunt woman in their crew, and so he just picks the absolute worst women to target. And there's this beautiful like triumphant ending when they get their revenge. And I'll leave like the juicy details for those who, you know, haven't seen the film yet. But it is terrific. It's such an interesting movie for Tarantino to have made because, first of all, I mean, it's about as close to horror as he's ever gotten. It's not like a full-blown horror movie. When you hear Tarantino slasher flick, I'm sure my mind goes somewhere else. I know, like plenty of other people probably start to imagine a lot different of a situation, but it is essentially functionally a slasher flick. Whereas instead of, you know, normally like just kind of one by one, all of the characters are killed off until like none of them remain, they're all just killed off like simultaneously. But I love that he did something like this. And there's currently discussion of him doing like a proper horror film for his last film. We'll see if that even ends up being a thing. Right now he's saying he's going to finish with 10 films, and I don't really believe it. I think he should keep going. I think with the strength of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think he should keep going. But his last film is either going to be Star Trek or a horror movie. So if it's between those two, I'm definitely like rooting for a horror movie. Yeah, the dialogue, I mean, that's Tarantino, man. Like he nails the dialogue every single time. And in particular, just what I think I love so much about Death Proof is it's so much dialogue, you know, like you really get to just sit in this world and be with these characters. You're essentially just a fly on the wall for this evening out with these people, and it's great. He always knows how to write good characters, but I think that's when he's at his best, when they're just talking, when you get a feel for who they are as individuals. Like, he's so good at creating these distinct personalities and these distinct voices that always feel vaguely Tarantino, but definitely like take on their own life. And I think some of my favorite Tarantino characters ever are in this film. And another like notable thing that a lot of people don't talk about, he was his own cinematographer for this film, which I think just is incredible, and I think absolutely deserves to be mentioned more than it is, because that's a completely a completely different discipline than writing or directing. Cinematography is a completely different beast, and I guarantee, I mean, he took tips from the cinematographers he's worked with. I don't know anyone who would try to shoot their own film without taking advice, but it's still, I think it's shot really, really well. And then you know, he kind of continued his relationship with Robert Richardson, who, where that started was on Kill Bill. But it was cool to see him, you know, shoot his own stuff. And this one is still from Sally Menke, his longtime editor, whose last film was Inglourious Basterds, if I'm not mistaken, or at least like last film with him before she passed away. But it's just, it's classic Tarantino. It's just absolutely a blast. Every time I watch it, like, I like it a little bit more than the last time I saw it. Like, people were saying a lot about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that it's just a movie you want to hang out in. You want to hang out with these characters, and even though it's 3 hours long, when it's over, you're sad that it's over because you just want to keep existing in that place. And obviously, with exception to when things get, you know, dark and messed up and violent, everything in Death Proof, I think, is just like, that's my personal favorite like atmosphere he's ever created. And it feels very like Halloween, feels very Grindhouse. It feels like its own special brand of Tarantino that we haven't seen before or since. And it makes me sad because I genuinely think he would have had a different trajectory as a filmmaker based on the performance of this film. Because before he went to make this, before he even went to make Kill Bill, he was working on Inglourious Basterds. That was the script after he did Jackie Brown. But he couldn't finish it, like, to save his life. He just kept getting stuck. The story kept getting bigger and bigger. The longer he kept writing it, more characters, more everything, more backstory. And it, you know, so he kind of decided to take a little break from that. And then he made Kill Bill. And then, you know, he was kind of going back to Inglourious Basterds, and Robert Rodriguez reached out to him like, hey, you know, I have this idea. What do you think? And he was just completely in right from the start. And I just think that's, you know, such a fun thing, like, that he just kind of created this thing out of nothing. I mean, that you can say that's true for all of his things, but like specifically because he was approached with the concept of the double feature based on, you know, the Grindhouse cinema that they grew up watching. And I feel like it was just this kind of once in a lifetime thing, and we haven't seen something like it since in cinema. I mean, I don't know, because we have like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know, like there are connected projects that are released in similar time frames, but it's not the same, if you ask me, not even close. And I'm trying to even think if there's, because you have these like anthology films, like Four Rooms or something, where it's like separate films from separate filmmakers all packaged together, but again, not quite the same because it's like all like one movie that's meant to be watched that way. Whereas this, I mean, I've watched Death Proof countless times without watching Planet Terror with it. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink some water. What is my favorite Denis Villeneuve? I never know how to say his name. Film, and why? Sorry for going off topic. Oh, no worries. Like I said, this is going to be a very loosely formed thing, with like the central focus being Death Proof, but being that this is just like a random podcast starting for the fun of talking about movies. We can talk about whatever. But my favorite Denis film is actually his most recent, Blade Runner. I haven't seen every one of his films. I can't even think of the name of them all now. But I saw Prisoners, I saw Sicario, Arrival, and Blade Runner. So like pretty much the major American releases, with exception to Enemy, which I heard wasn't as good. But all four that I have seen, I think, are incredible. I think he's the most promising filmmaker we have working right now. It really broke my heart that Blade Runner 2049 did not do that well at the box office, because it's a damn shame. Oh, is Enemy your favorite? I've heard from some people it's really good. I mean, any sort of movie is going to be divided as far as how people feel about it, but it seems like a really interesting story, and I love Jake Gyllenhaal, so I'll watch pretty much anything with him in it. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I'm wondering if that one is streaming somewhere, because that could be, hey, maybe that'll be a future podcast discussion. Who knows? But it looked great. It looks like it's shot really well. I wonder if that was Deakins, because I know they've been working together on pretty much everything. Like he did Sicario, Blade Runner. Part of me thinks he didn't do Arrival. I feel like he didn't do Arrival, and I'm gonna kind of look that up actually. But Roger Deakins is, I mean, he's just as good as it gets. I don't know why I'm feeling like he didn't. I feel like I'm gonna be wrong as soon as I pull it up, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out the hard way. Okay, no, I was right. He did not do. Okay, he was doing Hail Caesar. No, that's a fair choice. But yeah, Lost Highway can definitely be the next one. That was voted on by two separate people on the community post. So I've also just definitely been looking for more of an excuse to watch some David Lynch films. At this point, I have only seen one of his movies, which was Mulholland Drive, like the classic, the one that I feel like most people will point you to if you haven't seen a David Lynch film. Okay, nice. Yeah. But hey, you know, that's what it's there for. I appreciate suggestions. I definitely don't want to be the one deciding all the time. The hope is to try and keep it to be like something that's pretty easy to find online. Just so, like, I mean, we all have Netflix at this point. A lot of us have Hulu, but like, I'm definitely fine with whatever pick. And then the whole idea is to settle on it like probably tomorrow, actually, just so everybody who wants to participate the next time around can have plenty of time to watch it. And especially me, because I haven't seen it yet. But that's something I'm excited for. I've heard nothing but good things about Lost Highway, and it seems like a movie I would definitely enjoy. So far, most of David Lynch's movies seem like something I would enjoy. I just haven't gotten around to watching them for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm a bad film fan. There's just a lot of stuff out there that I have yet to see. All right. Yeah, I feel like we definitely had a couple lurkers in here. I don't know why they didn't want to chat before leaving, but hopefully if there's anyone else in here hesitating to comment, please feel free to speak your mind. We're just hanging out here. My favorite movie is 2001: A Space Odyssey, hence the like intro to this, and then my like YouTube banner kind of signifying that. I adore that movie endlessly. I think I could make an argument for why it's the best film of all time, just on an objective level. But yeah, Kubrick's my favorite director, and I think that's where he peaked. Not that he hasn't made like tons of great movies, including after that, but I think that was just as good as it gets. How about you? What is your favorite film? And Johnny, if you're still in chat, feel free to throw yours out. Juice, I don't know if you're still here as well, but yeah, what's everybody's favorite movie? We can just keep this conversation rolling. Because yeah, like I said, like we don't have to stay, like this isn't college or something, we don't have to stay super on point or anything like that. Yeah, no, it's a tough call. Before 2001, it was probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy for me, and so that's kind of cheating because it's 3 movies, right? But I always, oh god, that's gonna be loud. In case you hear background noise, it's the AC, but it's fucking hot outside, so we kind of need it. Strictly from, oh, okay, whoops, I missed one. Okay. I think of Ratatouille. Yeah, dude, Ratatouille's great. Like, absolutely delightful movie. I love Pixar. I'm actually working on a Pixar video. That should be the next one to come out. And Ratatouille's not my favorite Pixar movie, but I've always loved it. I think it's amazing. Johnny is saying, strictly from an enjoyment standpoint, probably Scott Pilgrim. I need to see that one again. Last time I revisited like all of Edgar Wright's films, which was years and years ago, that would actually have been on the very low end for me, just in terms of how I'd rank them. Not that I didn't think it was a great movie, but my preference list definitely looks a little different. When I made the Baby Driver video, I kind of had that discussion in the comments with a lot of people too. Like a lot of people mentioned Scott Pilgrim as being their favorite. As it stands, having not seen Scott Pilgrim in years, my current ranking would kind of be like, I think Hot Fuzz is my personal favorite, Shaun of the Dead, and then The World's End, then Baby Driver, and then Scott Pilgrim. And I don't think I'm missing any, right? I think that's all of them. But I love the Cornetto trilogy, and I think Hot Fuzz is the best of the trilogy. But Scott Pilgrim is terrific, and I definitely want to see it again to form a different opinion, because I love the cast, and I love like how visually just unique it is, especially because I mean you had like Sin City and 300 that were like, oh, we're making comic book movies, but they look like comics, and Edgar Wright just took that and like just jumped it to a complete other threshold that is gargantuan compared to what Snyder did. But then let's see, top 5 are Under the Skin, Big Lebowski, Clockwork Orange, Eraserhead, and probably The Handmaiden. So I haven't seen 3 of those. I haven't seen Eraserhead. I mean, like I said, currently Mulholland Drive is the only Lynch film I've seen. Handmaiden I haven't seen. I have heard nothing but tremendous things about it, though, so I definitely want to check that out. Clockwork Orange is incredible. I saw that movie probably too young the first time. I was like in 7th grade and didn't understand it. Thought it was like pretty to look at, like the sets and the costumes and stuff like that, but God, that movie went way over my head for years and years. And then Big Lebowski too, funnily enough. I don't think that one is meant for like teenagers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're teenagers who actually like understood the humor. Maybe I was just a late bloomer, but like the humor only really worked on me when I was a little bit older. And now I think that's one of the funniest movies ever made. I love the Coen brothers, and I think that's probably their funniest movie that I've seen. I haven't seen all of their movies either. You'll find out. As much as I love movies, there's still a lot that I have to see. But Johnny, excellent choice. Her is definitely her is a special one. That's probably still like a top 10 for me. It's tough to narrow it down at this point. I can confidently stick to my favorite movie being 2001. After that, it gets a little tricky to rank everything. Yeah, and her can have that effect. But see, I think there's a different way of reading the movie. Like I think that Theodore by the end learns, that there are different kinds of love, and they're all equally important. Not just romantic love, but like self-love and platonic love. Oh yeah, Juice. Shaun of the Dead's great. If you haven't seen the other two in the trilogy, you should. They're not connected by story. They're like all horror comedies. But so Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End or At World's End, I always get mixed up because there was that, and then the Pirates of the Caribbean movie that came out. Like, I think they came out in the same year, but they're all amazing. Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, Clockwork Orange isn't like super gory. It's very rapey. It's violent in a different kind of way. And frankly, like more disturbingly violent and more intensely violent than most other movies. There's a reason that it was rated X when it first came out, and it was like banned in I don't even know how many countries. I have not seen The Lighthouse. I don't know if I can yet. I don't know if it's out anywhere near me. But I have been eagerly awaiting that. Me and my brother just rewatched The Witch the other night in preparation. Oh. Thank you for the donation, Juice. I owe this to Job, but it's fine. What do you owe him $2 for? Okay, yeah. No, it's not out yet. Yeah, no, thank you for the donation. Johnny, if he actually owes you, I'll get it to you. If not, those $2 is mine. So yeah, it probably is TIFF, right? That's the one that's going on. I don't keep track with the film festivals because I never get to go to any, so I try not to like tease myself with everything that I'm not going to get to see. But yeah, I feel like a lot of industry people have had access to see The Lighthouse. I'm unfortunately not at that level yet. Maybe one day. That would be cool if, you know, Robert Eggers was like, "Hey, bro, here's a ticket." Yeah, it played, right? I th- I I think I saw a little blip here. Let me see. Let's try this again. What? I think it's like glitching. Okay, what is happening? Yeah, it's definitely like acting weird, and I don't know why. Huh. So this is a test donation. It should do that. Weird. I don't know why it's that is very strange. I actually want to get to the bottom of that. I hope I'm not going to like waste too much time on this, but yeah, what the actual frick is happening? That is so weird. Well, like I said, it is the first podcast, so it's gonna have some hiccups. That's to be expected. I don't know why it's doing that. That is so weird. Alert box. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Like here. Okay, maybe that fixed it. We're gonna try something here. Nope. Cool. That's something to figure out for the next one. I don't know why it's doing that. That is very strange. It's like creating an alternate. Why is that happening? I didn't. Why is it doing that? it's literally like creating another thing that I deleted and then click done. And then if I go back, I don't know, maybe it got glitched because of the GIF you chose or something like that. I don't know how this works exactly. We're figuring it out. Oh, thank you, by the way. Yeah, the Lost in Translation video was kind of a lot like spiritually, in my mind, connected to the Her video, and both of those were just like very personal stuff that I was like the kind of video that I'm like anxious to upload, but people seem to really like it. It didn't get that many views, which is unfortunate, but you know, it's the risk you take when you cover a movie that's not like Star Wars. Let's see. Yeah, I really, that's gonna actually bother me. The whole donation thing. I like worked so hard on these little animations. There we go. It worked that time. Hey. See? I worked hard on that. That looks good, right? It looks okay. I will probably redesign them in a few months, but you know, just getting started. I don't know if like this is even going to be a thing that takes off. We'll see. I mean, not that I need like a lot of people to be watching, but you know, I hope to have like a discussion about this stuff. Also, my follower bar is like totally glitched. Like this thing, it says I have 19 and I definitely have a little bit more than that. So I don't know if that just needs to load or what. But yeah, you guys see anything good in theaters lately? Because we can definitely still talk about Death Proof if people want to like bring that conversation there, but I feel like I've said most of the things that I wanted to say. Oh, Johnny, the follow a goal. Boop. Should be able to see that, right? I hope. Yeah, it's there. Cool. Yeah, I wonder how much of a delay there is. I chose everything to be like the lowest latency and everything like that because I wanted it to be more of an interaction. And when there's like that 30-second delay, ooh, that's a good question. What's the most underrated movie that I really like? Well, Death Proof is definitely one of them. I also think like critically it's not underrated, but it's just still kind of unknown. Is Synecdoche, New York. That's another film that I covered in a video. It's not my favorite video of my own, but I wanted to make it because I do really love that movie, and I really wish a lot more people saw it. And for that matter, his other film, Anomalisa. So both written and directed by Charlie Kaufman, who co-wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Adaptation he wrote, being John Malkovich. Human Nature, I think that's it. But both of those films, Synecdoche, New York and Anomalisa, are amazing. Like movies unlike you've ever seen before. Just like very original concepts, executed in a really beautiful way. But like I said, I mean, they're not like critically underrated. People who saw Synecdoche thought it was great, etc., but just kind of under a lot of people's radar. Another amazing film is Kingdom of Heaven. That's like one I will defend to the grave. Another movie I made a video on for that reason. But specifically what happened with Kingdom of Heaven is a weird one. It's because there are two different versions. I mean, I think there's probably like a final cut somewhere, but right now, as far as I know, it's like theatrical director's cut. And normally a director's cut is basically just like, here's a few extra scenes, go nuts. You guys liked the movie, here's more of it. But so the deleted scenes and the additional footage in Kingdom of Heaven completely change the movie. just from start to finish, and it's like an unrecognizably different movie because of it, and amazing because of it. Kingdom of Heaven is like the greatest movie of all time, not literally, but it's really good. All right, adaptation is amazing. I used to not love that one, but like absolutely love it, absolutely love it. And then hey, Happy Wide Peepo, welcome to the chat, welcome to the podcast, thank you for joining. Just got here, so I don't know if you went over this, but I was wondering if you have a theory on why Death Proof is considered Tarantino's worst by fans. So default, I definitely think that has a lot to do with it. People say it's boring, which I don't agree with, but I do hear that a lot. And I guess, I mean, for fans that were like coming off of Pulp Fiction and then Kill Bill, like Kill Bill's super action-packed, super violent, super everything, and then, you know, most of Death Proof is just talking. Like the vast majority of that film, it's just a bunch of women sitting in a bar chatting. And then I think another reason it's divisive is because of the harsh shift that comes halfway through the movie. It's the same thing that happened with Full Metal Jacket. Those are the only two movies I can think of that do that. But you know, when you hear people talk about Full Metal Jacket, it's the same sort of thing. Like everyone loves the first half. Most people think the second half is pretty lackluster. Again, something I disagree with. I think the whole of Full Metal Jacket is a masterpiece, one of the greatest war films ever made. But I think that that's what it is with Death Proof, is just like, I think it's a lot of different things. I think some people think it's too boring. I think people don't like the stark shift halfway through. I think a lot of people hated the fake distortion. And it can get kind of jarring. I think they probably do it a little too much, or like a scene will cut too short, or like you can talk about how, you know, oh, please talk about, about Full Metal Jacket. I don't know. I think there's just something like hypnotic about the first half, because it's so contained. And it's not something we really see much of. I mean, there's usually like in most war movies, you see a little bit of the boot camp. I mean, Jarhead, Platoon, whatever. Like they usually cover it, but that's certainly not the focus. And I think that that's something that people were really excited about in Full Metal Jacket. Just seeing a really prolonged, intense look at what a boot camp might look like. Also, it introduced the world to R. Lee Ermey, who is just magnetic. I mean, like, you cannot take your eyes off him. And because he won the role over the guy who already had the part. I don't remember who it was now. I don't even know if it was like a well-known actor, but there was somebody who had that role, and then R. Lee Ermey was just like, he was an actual drill instructor once upon a time, so they hired him on for authenticity, and he just kept coming up with all this amazing stuff, and Kubrick's like, no, why are we, just get in here, you're doing this role. But so then the second part, I think it's because it's so different to a lot of people, it just feels out of place, and it feels like you get really attached to the way that the film is progressing, and then for it to just jump like that to basically what's a really, really long and drawn out fight scene. I just think it irks a lot of people. So I would suggest revisiting it, just because once you know that that's where it's heading, I think that makes it a little bit less jarring. Because the first time I saw it, it was like, what the hell? like it felt like the movie should be over after Pyle, you know, like what? There's still an hour left. What is this movie? But then I think it's really important to see them in action. I think if you wanted to make the movie all about the boot camp, you could tell an entire story that covers that. But I think it's important to see these particular characters, like who they are in boot camp, and then who they are in the real, actual shit, as they say. I also think it does a lot to add to the commentary about the war, because Kubrick's like very clearly anti-war, and you can see that in Strangelove, you know, you can see it in Full Metal Jacket. He doesn't like it very much, and I think the way that he portrays war is very different to what we're used to seeing. Because like one, we're seeing like how it's being filmed, and it's almost like this, I don't know, like there was this vibe, and it's reflected in stuff like Platoon as well. But like Vietnam was weird. It almost felt like a lot of the people there were just like actually enjoying killing. I don't know. And it was a time of like great distrust in the federal government. There was just a lot happening wrapped around the Vietnam War, and I think that Full Metal Jacket and Apocalypse Now, I think, were the best two films to really dissect it. But I see we have another new viewer. Feel free, please, to say hello so I can know who you are, and we can chat about movies. As you can see, we're kind of running all over the place right now, but that is kind of the point, you know? It's just like a little film bro hangout. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it has the same impact. Like, if I'm being totally honest, I prefer the first half of Full Metal Jacket, but I don't think that the film would work without the second half. I guess like there's probably a way. Maybe I just need to question Kubrick more than I do, but I have like complete faith in him to just deliver the best. I haven't seen every one of his movies, but I've seen a lot of them, and I have yet to see one that I did not like. The only one that was like disappointing to me was Barry Lyndon, but I need to see that again. I was only like 15, and I thought it was super boring. But like Strangelove, Eyes Wide Shut, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, like the man's a legend. The man's an absolute legend. Sorry, I'm trying to switch some things back. Now that we got our stream labels hopefully figured out, we'll see. But so, has everybody here seen Tarantino's latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Curious what everybody's opinions on that are, because so far, like, pretty much everyone seems to have really dug it, but I have come across a few people, like, on Twitter, that did not like it at all. Some people hated the ending, which I don't think we should spoil anything anyways, guys, just because it's kind of new, but, like, I don't know, I kind of want to talk spoilers. It's tough. That's a tough one. It's too new. I don't know. We'll see. Interesting. May I ask how so? For purpose of the VOD, Default said, Barry Lyndon reminds me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, and that's actually something I'm realizing. I'm definitely going to have to put chat on screen for VOD purposes, because it's going to go on YouTube as like the VOD. So it'll work on Twitch because they have the chat replay. But yeah, I should probably make sure that you can see the chat on the stream. Just anyways. It's telling a story of time through characters rather than the other way around. I mean, yeah, I can definitely see that because like they're both very long, like historical pieces. It's weird to think of something like Once Upon a Time as being historical in the way that Barry Lyndon is, but it kind of is, right? Just, you know, over like 150 years time difference. But for me, Barry Lyndon was just tough because I felt like it was not what I was expecting when I first watched it. I think the cinematography is amazing. I think everyone thinks that, if nothing else, about Barry Lyndon. It's pretty incredible. I mean, they had a specific lens or camera, I don't remember, maybe both, but developed just so they could shoot candlelight as the only light source. I mean, way ahead of its time for some of the stuff that he was doing. And some of the stills look like gorgeous Victorian paintings. Like, it's amazing. But I just remember watching it and thinking, like, good Lord. I thought it was a war movie. And I mean, it is a war movie, but like I was expecting, when I saw it, I was expecting like The Patriot, which is a terrible movie, but I was expecting to see like heads getting chopped and, you know, really cool action sequences, and then it's not that. It's something very different. But I know Martin Scorsese considers that to be Kubrick's best, and that's a big part of why I need to revisit it, because I trust Martin Scorsese, obviously, as we all should. Yeah, I think NASA designed the lenses. 0.8. 0.8. That's actually nutty. I not that I have like the nicest camera, but I have a Canon Rebel T3 that's like 12 years old. I think it gets to 3.5 at the lowest. But that's insane. Like, that's pretty wild. But hey, look at this. We're coming up on the first hour. Holy cow. And we've talked about Death Proof, right? I'm not being totally unprofessional, except this is unprofessional. I'm trying not to like move too much because that's a horrible sound, and I'm sure it doesn't sound great on the microphone. But apologies, I'm a fidgety person. I even have like a little piece of shit in my hand just to like fidget because it's what I do. Thank you, Default. I appreciate that. I have streamed before. I don't know if you've ever caught them. They were very spontaneous. I think I did 3 of them total. But I used to just every once in a while pop on this stream on YouTube live. But I decided to kind of bring it to Twitch so it has its own separate home. Because I never did the podcast. It was always just like a Q&A thing, like when I hit 10,000 subs or something like that. But yeah, it's fun. I have been wanting to get back into streaming for a while. There was a few things. 1, definitely didn't have time for a long time there. 2, I didn't have the gear. Like, I have a webcam. I've had a webcam. I've had this microphone for a long time. This is like the best investment I've ever made in my life. But I didn't have like a good enough internet connection for a while there. The last time I tried streaming was a nightmare. I was getting like 144p. It looked terrible. It was not good. Top of the line production lenses get as low as like 1.2. Yeah, that sounds about right. But I mean, if you watch like specifically I think it's in the first act, right? Just there's this dinner scene where they're all in this room in this castle or manor or whatever the lingo is. Oh my god, it's incredible though. It looks so good, and there's just no way that you can do that with the substitution of like film lights. Like, there's a look that you get there that's not just a gimmick of, oh look, we shot this with only candles. Like, it looks amazing and it works wonders. I generally am a fan of natural light in movies. What did I just watch? That was The Witch. Duh. Okay, I was just reading about it. Came back to me. He shot most of that with natural light. The Revenant's another notable one where they shot pretty much. I think there's only one scene actually in that entire film where they use artificial light. Craziness, but it looks amazing. And you know, frankly, as like someone who's used cameras a lot, it's like, why not, right? You can get a lot out of footage with just the sun. Hey, the Zen Master, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining the chat. If you appreciate going to an art museum, Barry Lyndon is amazing. Virtually every scene feels like a talking living portrait from that era. See, exactly. And that's what I need to revisit it for. I was young, I was dumb, I liked action movies, okay. I just wanted to see like cool Revolutionary War action, you know? It's what I was expecting, and got something completely different than what I expected. But every single thing I've seen, like anytime One Perfect Shot shares anything on Twitter, or like anytime I catch a post from like Cinephilia and Beyond about it, it's just like, what is this movie? It looks insane. There's no other movie that looks like this, like in the entire world of film. So it's definitely one I need to revisit. And then there's just a list of Kubrick films that I still have to see. It's pretty much all of his older stuff. Like I never caught Lolita. I haven't seen Spartacus in full, so I need to do that. And I haven't seen Killer's Kiss, Killing, Paths of Glory. God, that was one I really need to see. I think that's it. Yeah, that sounds about right. He didn't make a ton of movies in his career. He took his due sweet time. But, ooh, Default, have you seen Green Room? Fun fact, I just watched that for the first time, like literally 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. So, has anyone else in the chat seen Green Room? Johnny, I know you have. But Zen Master Juice, what about you guys? If you haven't, watch it. It's on Netflix, so right? Netflix, Hulu, where did we watch it? It's on one of them. It is so good. Anton Yelchin, rest in peace, gives an amazing performance, and yeah, it's a really, really tense thriller. I guess it's a horror. It feels more like a thriller to me, but it is, I guess, both like horror thriller. Are you like in a punk band? Just don't play any Nazi dive bars where you make fun of them and watch a murder happen, and you'll be okay. You know, you'll be fine. It's a lot of things that have to go wrong before you end up in that situation. But yeah, no, it's a terrifying movie. Are you kidding me? It's a horrifying concept, executed really well too. Trying to remember the director's name. I feel like a bad person, but see, yes, good. Just don't. Exactly. Play punk bars. You know, play where there aren't people who are stabbing people in the head in the green room. Preferably, that's what you want to avoid as a band. But I was just actually rewatching. I love Black Mirror. I don't know if you guys are fans of that show, but I rewatched a couple different episodes, including Hang the DJ, and it was like right after I watched Green Room, and I was like, hey, there he is. He's a really good actor. Possession. I don't believe so. I'm gonna have to look it up really quick so I get like a poster to jog my memory. Just Possession? That's like the full title. 1981. Is that the one? Sam Neill. Oh, well, good to know. I haven't seen this though. No, I've definitely seen stuff from it. Like I know Tony Zhou used sequences from this in one of his films, or do I have that right? Maybe it was Channel Criswell. It's been a long time, but no, I have not seen it. Loved it, but you don't know what to make of it. Those are the best, though. Honestly, those are some of the most fun times I ever have at the movies. Okay. A woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after asking her husband for a divorce. Suspicions of infidelity soon give way to something much more sinister. Ooh. It's a good, sounds like a good little time. Sam Neill as a bad guy, you know, I could go for it. He's a good actor. I haven't heard of this filmmaker either, but let's see what else they have done. Yep, I am not familiar with this director's work at all, but yeah, it definitely seems like something I would get into. I do not collect nuts, for the record. Let the record show. I do not collect nuts. But maybe one day. I'm trying to think what else I have like watched recently. I mean, I've been kind of trying to like get on a Halloween kick because I love this time of year for watching just like anything vaguely spooky. And so that's something else too, for sure. As we get closer to Halloween, we got to do like we got to do some horror stuff. I'm trying to think what would be a really good thing to talk about. There's definitely got to be stuff. But yeah, that would be the plan, is to do like a horror movie for all of October. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I love horror. It's my favorite genre. But let's see. What my favorite horror movie? It's like really, really, really impossible for me to pick between two. I know that's cheating. Bear with me. But The Exorcist and The Shining are my two favorite horror films. I think they're amazing. So, most horror movies, you just have to know the right ones. That's the truth of it, because a lot of it is just really campy. A lot of it's really shitty. But there are, like, I think some of the best movies ever made are horror films. Yeah, Hereditary is amazing. Yeah, so as far as like what to look out for, it's kind of on an individual basis, but generally speaking, go for the ones that the critics liked. You know, critics are usually pretty spot on when it comes to horror movies. At least recently, there seems to have been an increased like appreciation for horror cinema, because Hereditary got some good reviews, Midsommar got good reviews, The Witch got good reviews, The Babadook was great. Oh my gosh. Oh, are you playing WoW Classic? Nice. But yeah, no, for sure. I'm hoping to make this a weekly thing. I'm going to play around with like the schedule to see if we can find a time that works better for people. But yeah, man, thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. On the inaugural episode, get some sleep. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one, man. Yeah, how do I make you a mod, Johnny? Do you know how to do that? Because I don't know how to do that. But Johnny, you gotta be a mod. Is it a command? Okay. So like exclamation point, right? No. Okay. Do I do the at? We're gonna try it. We're gonna see what happens. Nope. Okay. Let's try that again. Maybe mod and didn't do it. I'll figure it out another time. All right. Yeah, see, we've had some lurkers in here. Guys, speak up. Say something. Talk about your favorite movie. That's always like one of my favorite first questions to ask people, like what anybody's favorite movie is. But yeah, say hello. No reason to be shy. It's just a few of us in here, you know. You're not gonna get drowned out. That's for sure. My favorite movie is Bee Movie because I like bees. That's really good. My favorite is Human Centipedes because I like human centipedes. Did you not watch the meme version of Bee Movie? Where it's the Bee Movie, but it's sped up every time someone says bee, I think. And it's just like, there was that trend. That was a meme for a while. It got old pretty quick, but that was, I think, the first one I saw of it. So I haven't seen Human Centipede, but I have seen Human Centipede 2. Yeah, no, that's 100% right, though. Absolutely is an exploitation movie. It's not everyone's taste, but I love them even if I don't. Yeah, the Squeakquel, my guy, where they put like 10 people in the Human Centipede instead of 3. It's horrible. If you don't mind talking about Death Proof again, yeah, no, totally. I would love to hear your theory. So, yeah, we're just floating back and forth. It might not be super entertaining on the rewatch, but this is more about for the people who are here. If people watch it later, cool. If not, we're here to hang out. We're here to chat. But I would love to hear any theory about why it wasn't well liked, because it boggles my mind most of the time. Like, I can make all of the sense of it that I want, but ultimately, every time I see it, I'm like, people are wrong about this movie. Like, they're just straight up wrong. And I've made it my mission in life to change people's mind. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I'm just waiting for you. Waiting for your theory. I'm assuming it's going to take a minute to type up. So in the meantime, I'm kind of checking out this other stuff. Apparently, you can have a spin wheel. Who knew? I don't know what that does. Is that a thing that I should have? Ooh. Maybe that's how we decide on a movie. Maybe that'll be the thing. I don't know. Game show time. No, but maybe that'll be the, maybe that'll be the way. Alright, don't mind me. Hydration time. Of all his films, I feel like tonally Death Proof is his most unique. It's really dark and sadistic compared to his others. Absolutely. I mean, it's a horror movie. Yeah, he's been violent in other movies, but I don't think he's ever made horror, not even really close, besides Death Proof. And yeah, the way the film treats its characters and lingers on the violence more so than like when one of the main girls in the beginning, she's having relationship problems and this over-the-top sad music plays. It's almost like the movie's poking fun at her. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think part of that is just kind of carving out her own little experience in that moment. Because I was just rewatching it, and that music choice always catches me off guard. But I think that's what he was going for there. It was like, we're all kind of in our own little world when we're texting that person that we have a crush on, and and I think she's just like excitedly waiting to hear back from him, and so it's just like this little cutesy little piano music. And when characters die excuse me, when characters die, the movie takes its time with the violence. Oh yeah, it does. Like the car crash scene is fucking gruesome. So Johnny, you haven't seen it, but oh my god, dude, it's so you see like the good build up which you need, but then he literally shows like a different angle for every I think there's 5 women in the car when the crash happens, and then there's in his car he has someone. She's already dead by this point though. He already like spins around enough that she just like cracks her head open on the rigging that he has inside. But so like the car crash with the women who are in the other car. Oh my god, dude. It's Tarantino. I love it though. I love it. Like, so one, her legs hanging out the window, you know, and when they hit, her leg just like severs and just goes flying. One of them, like the tire crushes her face. It's gruesome. It's horrifying. Like it's probably the most gruesome scene he's ever done. And it's great because there's like a little cut for each one where it's like him like pulling the brake or whatever. How does it cut? I don't know. It cuts back and forth though of like, here we are again where he's about to crash, and then look at the disaster that happened to this person, and then we cut back and then forward and until we see how all of them died horrible grisly deaths. But yeah, the car crash scene is amazing. It's so good. And because it's done for real, you know, Tarantino don't mess around. He likes the real stunts. But it's, yeah, I think it's probably his most gruesome scene, and certainly for innocent people, because there's a lot of violence in his other movies, but it's gangsters or, you know, criminals or rapists or whatever. Like when that dude gets his lip bit off in Kill Bill, you don't really feel bad. It's gross, but you don't really feel bad. Or at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, spoiler, earmuffs, you know. Like that infamous scene is disgusting. It's gruesome, but you don't really feel bad because who it's happening to. Same thing with Inglourious Basterds, same thing with Django Unchained. I think maybe that's even what it is. Maybe it's that simple. It's just like normally he has cathartic violence, like revenge violence against people who are bad people, just kind of objectively speaking. But Death Proof, most of the violence is they're just women, just regular women. Like they're not assassins or ninjas or, you know, undercover cops or whatever. Like they're just people living their life and they get obliterated. But it's like, that's what slasher movies do. Okay, that's the whole point. You don't have a slasher flick about a bunch of pedophiles who get picked off one by one, because who gives a shit? It's like, yeah, like keep them coming, keep killing them. Like no one's gonna have any sympathy, and if you don't have sympathy, there's no horror. It's the way it works. And maybe that's just what he's like so good at making characters believable, real people, that maybe people aren't ready for him to create innocent young women who are just like regular people and then watch them get obliterated. I don't know. I love it though. I love horror. I love watching stuff like that. I don't know why, but I always have. And it works better the more that you feel sorry for the characters. So like Green Room, man, that's hard to watch some of that stuff, because yeah, like they're, you know, kind of being, ooh, look at us, we're so cool and we're so edgy, but like they don't deserve a fraction of what happens to them in that movie. And it's sad. It's sad when they get hurt or killed. You don't want to see it, but you do. And I don't know. Horror is just fun. It pulls at your emotions in a way that I don't think any other genre even gets close to. And I'm very, 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 very excited to continue with like this horror movie stretch. Watched the new Suspiria for the first time the other night. That was great. Like, great in moments. Honestly, like the whole first hour or so of that movie is, oh, it's good. Ooh, it is good. But there were some things that I did not like at all. But then again, same thing with the original. Like I love the original until the last act of that movie, which I think is just terrible. But yeah, I really liked a lot of what he was doing with Suspiria. Oh, you liked it? Nice. Yeah. Did you see it in theaters? Because I definitely did not. Yeah. It's like not even so much the ending. It's like the last chunk, you know, like it's not just like the final 5 minutes or something like that. Like, for example, The Babadook is a movie I really like, except for the last 5 minutes. You think oh no, I hated it. Me and Jared, okay, for those in the audience who don't know, Jared is my brother, also film fan. We watched it together and we discussed it. We hate the visuals of that, like the ritual scene at the end. This undercranked, fucking like overblown, saturated red with the worst CGI blood I have ever seen. Like the absolute most PS1 cutscene shit ass graphic looking blood I have ever seen. And after like some of the other stuff that you see in that movie, like the contortion scene, which was not done with CG, and that's why it looks so good. But like you see some of the other stuff and you're like, whoa, this looks amazing. Like what was he thinking? Just, it looks so bad. I don't know. I feel like the average YouTube After Effects artist could have done better with the CG blood than he pulled off in that movie. But you saw it at Music Box. We tried. We were gonna go months and months, and I mean, obviously it's been out of theaters for months and months. But I think we were gonna go Halloween night or like close to that. We were gonna see it at the Music Box, but it was sold out, and then I just never caught it. Oh, it was playing before we knew each other? Dang, okay. We haven't known each other like super long. This is true, but interesting. I guess I just don't remember when it comes out. But yeah, we're getting close to the hour and a half mark, and I think that is gonna do it for this first episode. Just gonna have some like final send off thoughts. Thank you to those who have joined in. Thank you to Happy Wide Peepo. Thank you to Ja3Ow, whose name is going to be changing very soon, unless you're making a new account, which I guess, you know, either way. Johnny and Juice and thank you to Default for showing up, and Zen Master. I really appreciate you guys like participating in the chat. That's definitely like what I'm hoping to see more of. Because for those who like missed the community post or whatever, the general idea and the hope here is that we can make this more of a discussion about just whatever movie that we're talking about, and then obviously like we can run on tangent upon tangent if we want to. And eventually I want to get like the Discord set up and have some of you guys on through like a voice call. I think would be really cool. I still have to figure out some of the kinks with that stuff. I don't really know what I'm doing with streaming. It's a complicated process, but we'll get there. So I appreciate those of you for, you know, who are here joining in on the first one without really knowing what to expect. It means a lot to me that you guys would take the time out of your day to hang out. And it's cool. Like I already have like 20 followers, which is pretty rad, and we've had like an average of 4 to 6 viewers this whole time, which, hey, like that's pretty great. For those of you who are lurking, I hope you feel more confident and comfortable to say something in the future, because I promise I don't bite, and there's no judgment here. We're not going to play that game. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and all opinions are welcome. But leave a comment if you would on Twitter. I don't know. Yeah, no worries. Actually, while I have you, before I go, do you have a time preference? I should have asked Default before they left, and then Zen Master, I don't know if you're still here. But just if there's like a preference on time, I'm trying to figure out, because I tried 7 p.m. today because I figured this would be a good time for like people in America and Canada to catch it like after work or whatever. But so I know I have a lot of people who watch my videos from like the UK, or wherever. So I'm gonna play around with different times until I kind of find something that works. And realistically, it'll probably switch back and forth just so, because I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, 60% of people are happy with this, so fuck the other 40%. Like, I'm gonna try and find a way that works for everybody, and that will probably mean flipping the times. But yeah, so the polls will be posted. I'll probably post them tomorrow. There will be one on Twitter. So first things first, I need suggestions so we can vote between things. Right now, Lost Highway is one of those suggestions. And then I'll like collect those suggestions, and then from those pick 4 probably. So Lost Highway is for sure going to be one because it's been suggested twice, and then we'll just vote that way, and I'll just kind of tally them all between Twitter and YouTube. Because I don't know if I can do a poll on Twitch, but like most of my audience is still on YouTube and Twitter anyways. So that'll be kind of how we decide, hopefully by the end of tomorrow, maybe the day after, but that'll give, everyone plenty of time to find a way to watch it, to rent it, download it, whatever. But so Lost Highways for sure one, looking for a few other suggestions just so there's like something to vote between, so we have options. And then probably as soon as we get into the month of October, all horror, baby. That's gonna be the theme. And it can be like cute horror, like we could do Casper, or I just rewatched Paranorman, something like that. But like it doesn't have to be Cannibal Holocaust, but just something that fits the mood of October is what we're looking for. But for the next, I guess we got 2 more podcasts probably. Yeah, totally open. And then after that, I'm not gonna do like a Christmas theme because Christmas movies suck, except with very little exception. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Until the next time, follow me on Twitter. Pay attention to the community tab on my YouTube channel, or follow me here. Whenever I have like the movie and the time figured out, I'll let you guys know as soon as I have that information, and do something like I had for this, where there's like a trailer that goes on YouTube. There's like the stream starting, just so everyone knows what time, what day, and what the topic of discussion is. But hopefully people kind of understand that it's a pretty loose topic. It's just a hangout podcast, I'm not going to talk about one movie for 2 hours. That's a 2-hour movie. Talking about it for 2 hours seems a little crazy. But who knows? We'll see. If people really like are invested in the discussion, then totally. But other than that, that ought to do it for me. Thank you again for joining, and stay tuned. Look out for the next one, and until then, you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you guys have a great weekend. All right, take it easy.